And 300 yards is kind of cool. I think a lot of quarterbacks have been around, they get that first 300-yard game, and I can do this now. I can really do this. And that's usually goes well.
That's Jim Harbaugh talking about J.J. McCarthy getting over 300 yards and the dub that Michigan posted down in Bloomington on Saturday. As we get ready to get things underway on this Monday, thanks for joining us on Good Afternoon Michigan Football, part of the Maize and Blue Review, presented by Rivals. I'm Dennis Fithian. Coming up in just a moment or two, we'll be joined by former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli. He's going to break down some plays. We'll have some thoughts on the game here on this Monday afternoon. But first, we do have some breaking news from this morning. Mike Hart released an update. He thanked everyone for support, messages, and prayers to him. Thanks coaching staff on both sides. And he says, health-wise, this is a quote from Mike Hart, health-wise, I am back in Ann Arbor and things are trending in a positive direction. I look forward to rejoining our team soon. So that's his best and as I think as good a news as you could receive on this Monday morning after the medical emergency on Saturday in Bloomington. So get well soon, Mike Hart. I want to remind everybody that we've got podcasts coming out all the time, every day. Couple on Mondays, got a recruiting pod on Tuesdays, Thursday, Friday, Saturday after the game. We are there. And so check all those out on Maize and Blue Review. Subscribe, rate, and also comment. Here he is, and we bring him in, the former Wolverine, Jim Scarcelli. Scar, how are you?
Danny, we're fired up, man. We are undefeated. We are right where we want to be going into this big game. The Nittany Lions coming into Ann Arbor. We got them at home, and things are coming together for us.
Well, as far as the stuff that we're going to talk about today, we will look at the 10th ranked, the top 10 showdown with Michigan going back to number 5, but they will have a top 10 matchup taking on Penn State this Saturday, of course, the showdown. We'll look back to this weekend and what happened in East Lansing to Michigan State. We've got the Telestrator, some film analysis with the former coach, Jim Scarcelli, but we'll start with Michigan beating Indiana 31-10. We talked about this game, Scar, on Saturday after the ball game. Wolverines were in a tight one at the break, 10-10. They got a big run, almost 50 yards from Blake Corum in their first series, and they scored in that first series, but then they, it bogged down a little bit for them. They didn't hit on as many plays. They made a field goal. They missed a field goal. They got a turnover, but they, you want to say they were in a dogfight at the half with Indiana. What were your thoughts on the first half?
Yeah, we started out nice. Corum had that nice run, man. That was all Corum. And their defensive coaches did a good job, made things difficult for us. He guessed right many times, Coach Allen over there. I thought our offensive line played pretty good football. Tight end was solid as always. And we got, I think we played pretty good, but they did a good job defensively. We started to make some adjustments more offensively in the second half. I think our defense was pretty sound the whole game. We made them one-dimensional. They virtually had no run game. They only had a couple little runs. They leaked in there, but it was we made them one-dimensional, and they had a little success with their bubble game against us. We had a tough time coming off blocks, more so than we have against other teams. I don't know if they were if Indiana's guys were such good blockers at the receiver position, but we had a tough time coming off blocks. But it's a great road win. A lot of guys played, continue to get better, and I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, listening to everybody and taking everything in since Saturday, and then watching the game myself, the narrative that Michigan was flat, that they were vanilla in the first half. Certainly when you after that big run, they really weren't running the ball well. They had the medical emergency with Mike Hart on the sideline. That was no small thing. I mean, the game, they were just Indiana's second series. They tied the game up. That's going to deflate you a little bit. There was an inordinate amount of flags where the referees got involved too. That bogged things down. But really, I went back and watched the first half again this morning. And after the first drive, Michigan, they had 3 straight third down attempts, and none of them were really, they went 0 for 3. They had Schoonmaker. It was, 3rd and 11. They threw the ball short to him, probably like 6 yards. Unless he broke 2-3 tackles, that one was never going to work. You want to get a proper depth there. And I know you have checkdowns for a reason, but that wasn't the most inspiring type of check down or third down call or execution or whatever else. The next time it's a 3rd and 8. JJ was pressured a little bit. He forced the ball into I don't know if there was another play that was available for him, but he threw into there was a lot of coverage that really never had a chance. And then in the next one, he had AJ Henning looking pretty good, but they weren't on the same page, and he misfired there. So those were the 3 third downs. They get a turnover, and then he takes 2 shots into the end zone. He had Henning, he had Bell. Those were close plays, close to being made, and they weren't. So those when you aren't able to connect on third down and extend the drive, when you're not hitting guys in the end zone, when you get a turnover, I mean, that's how you only end up with 10 points. You get a field goal block. So I can understand people being a little frustrated. I do think people were like, I was listening to the Fox crew at the half. They were talking about they didn't think the wide receivers were getting open enough. There might be something there. Michigan certainly wasn't calling any screens or reverses. So I don't know if they're not opening up the playbook, if that was something in there too. I mean, there's a lot of things that people are saying. Afterwards, though, I would look at it if I'm thinking about what Michigan needs to do in the second half, the thing that's hanging over them for me is that the vertical passing game and being able to get that going, big chunk plays downfield. That's the one thing that I'm looking for U of M to hit, because in the Big Ten, they have not been able to hit any downfield passes, certainly vertical. They've had a couple, Bell down one sideline, Andrell Anthony down another, but there's a lot of things to like, but that's the one thing, it's not the play calling, it's not the designs, all those other things. To me, you might have that and somebody else might too. I'm just talking about the vertical passing game. To me, that's the one thing I'd like to see click.
Yeah, I agree with you, Danny, that, the times we did have good separation in our earlier six games, we overthrew them, and then we didn't really have much separation against Indiana. So they both got to come together. We got to receivers got to do a better job getting separation, and JJ's got to get it situated. But, talking about those drives that were stalled, they get us 3rd and 11. They've won already. Tom Allen, and again, I talked about it after the game. He had us with more negative plays than anybody all year. He got us in 2nd and long. He had negative plays on 1st down. He's like, hey, in our first drive, one of the reasons it was so successful is I think our coaches understand Tom Allen's going to overplay run on 1st down. And we threw the ball our first 3 plays. And then we had the big run on a play that we'll look at it. We'll break it down. But, he was overplaying run on 1st down, getting us in those, 3rd and long. So he was winning, 1st and 2nd down, getting us out of rhythm. So he's saying, hey, he's telling Michigan and Harbaugh, hey, look, I know you like to run on 1st down and you got to throw it. He's saying we're going to have to throw it. So those are the things that Michigan might have to just say, okay, you're going to overplay it. We're going to make you pay and throw the ball on 1st down.
For people that enjoy play calling or telegraphing plays or predicting what's going to happen, there's some moaning and groaning. And look, I think Michigan can run the ball better. I think the passing game can improve. And I think defensively, they've got room to get better. So all of that, the good news is that they're sitting pretty as a top 5 team in the country, and they still have everything in front of them. It can be a great year. But what about during the week when they practice the different plays that they want to put in and they come up with a script, whether it's 4 or 5? I think Olo with Timmy after the game said that they have 15 scripted plays that they start with. So if you look back, J.J. McCarthy has started 5 games. Michigan has scored on their first drive in the last 5 games on their opening drive all 5 times. So you could say that script and the plays that they're familiar with, that's their bread and butter. It's worked really good. What about those scripted plays? And then after that, why can't they execute those same plays that they did coming out? Is it the adjustments? Is it something to do with just having a limited number of plays that they can execute? What are your thoughts on that?
No, it's the adjustments. The defense is making some adjustments, and it's an interesting observation. But that we've been successful on first down, and
First series.
I don't know that I really have the answer, but yeah, maybe you have to give some credit to the defense, or maybe because we had success in that first drive, being creative, throwing it a little more, and then we end up getting back to the old school, conservative mindset because we've scored early. I really don't know the answer to it, but let's just, we're better when we're creative. We're better when we're not predictable down in distance.
I know one thing, and I don't know if this has anything to do with J.J. McCarthy or not, but I remember when Mitch Trubisky was drafted by the Bears, I heard a lot of people weighing in because Trubisky would have really good success in his first series on the scripted plays. And the thought is that, look, he can, they can pretty much tell him what to look at, where the reads are at. He can read one side of the field, doesn't have to do a whole lot, but he's fantastic. They script 10 plays. He's good. But after that is where he struggles, where you have to have everything else and all the adjustments, and could be part of being a sophomore quarterback that in, this progress or progression or how he can evolve those things. But that's just at least something I thought about that. I know that was a knock on Trubisky in the pros, that he's good when but he can't go off script. And so maybe that's something to think about. You wanted to talk about a ready list for Michigan. We just talked about all 3 phases of the game, and certainly the running, passing, and defense, and things that they can do better. And there's room for improvement. What about that ready list that Harbaugh will have for his team that he'll present on a Sunday to him?
Danny, every position coach, head coach, coordinator, it's a term I heard many, many years ago. A ready list is like, let's just say I'm coaching the edge players for Michigan. I am the edge coach, Mike Elston. Everything an edge player needs to know, from stance. There might be 4 or 5 different stances. What's the 1st and 10 stance compared to 3rd and short stance, or 4th and inches stance, or 3rd and long? They're all different stance. And then alignments. You're going to have many, many different alignments based on down and distance and all those situations. And then, all the blocks, playing all the blocks. And what made me think about, and then as a coach, you have your ready list. There's things that you might talk to your team about on a regular basis. There's some things you might talk about just a couple times a year. As a defensive coach, some of the things you might talk about a couple times a year would be like defending the swinging gate. You know what swinging gate, Denny, is, what people do after a field, on extra points, something. Anyway, those are things you don't cover them every week. You might have them on your list that you're going to cover them 2-3 times a year. And it was funny. Last year, a couple of years ago, I'm watching the Florida LSU game where the guy threw the shoe. Remember that? And one of my coaches called me and said, yeah, I guess you got to don't throw a shoe on the ready list. And then I'm watching BYU this year, and sure enough, a player threw a shoe. But what made me think about the ready list was all these little things that a head coach has to make sure he covers. And the Harrell incident, it got me thinking about those things, that you always have to cover everything as a head coach. And I'm not blaming the player at all here. I think a coach has to cover all of these things. How do we celebrate? Coach Moeller used to cover how we celebrate as a defense. And Coach Schembechler said, we want to score a touchdown. We want to celebrate together. He covered all of that stuff. It wasn't just by accident, because he didn't want to have those kind of penalties. So I just thought about it after that those little things have to be covered as a coach, and you have to, because it can cost you. So I just wanted to bring that out, Denny. That, like, I remember the coin flip. I remember one year as a head coach, I thought I explained it to my players. I always wanted to defer. I told my captains, what defer means. I would go over with them every year. And then one year I come out, we're kicking off two halves in a row. Somehow the kid got it confused, and that's on me. That was totally on me that I didn't explain the defer. We want to get the ball. The kid got it confused, but I took responsibility for it. And again, I just want to mention the ready list. Coach is responsible for everything in all those non-football situations also.
All right, so Michigan gets the victory, and now they'll get ready for Penn State this week. Before we talk about the Nittany Lions and what you think of James Franklin's team, we did have two Big Ten East teams clashing up in East Lansing on Saturday as well. And I don't know if it was predictable or not, but Ohio State just wiped the field with Michigan State. How much of that game did you watch? What did you take away from it?
No, Danny, I watch everything those two guys do. I watch their games. I'm scouting them. I'm watching them, and because we got to beat those two teams. But when you look at Ohio State, there's three things that just stand out. Bigger, stronger, faster. Recruiting. You just see it. I don't know if Michigan State had two players that could start for Ohio State in their top 22. Ohio State just has bigger, stronger, faster dudes. You can see it in the recruiting. Their offensive line is big, strong, athletic guys. Their receivers, they got a bunch of guys like the Hayes kid, and is that his name? The Michigan State receiver. They just got, they just have better players, and that was obvious. And they were able to run the ball against Michigan State, which Michigan State has normally played pretty good run defense. But I still question. I'm still confident with Michigan against Ohio State. When I look at Ohio State as a whole, I'm still confident that we are gonna slow that pass game down. We're gonna tackle in space. I keep watching these teams as we're playing. I'm watching how we tackle in space in Indiana, because all that stuff is going to come back to Ohio State. But we got to tackle in space, and I don't think Michigan State did a good job of that. We got to slow their run game down, and I think we're going to do that. And you got to prevent the big play there. And I think that Ohio State game is winnable. Michigan State was just outmanned. I think their offensive line is really one of the weak where Michigan State has taken a step back. That's the one thing I'm seeing. I don't know that they're able to run the ball as well and protect as well. And I tell you who was a good player for Michigan State, Danny, and I think they're a little weaker at that position, is their tight end, Ironhead's kid. What was Hayward's first name? The tight end.
Oh, the one
Craig. It was Craig, right?
Craig, and that was yeah, I don't know. I
can't. Anyway, they had real good players. The Hayward kid, that he's playing with his brother now at the Steelers.
Right.
Those guys were good. He was a good player. And I think they're really dropped off at that position. And, and they're not getting quite the quarterback play. But that's a winnable game. But it'll be tough because it's Michigan State. They got Wisconsin coming in, who will be a re-energized team off the big win, new coach. And I always like to see the Michigan State have trouble. So hopefully the Badgers can go in there and get a win. But those are two games that I continue to be positive with Michigan on. That can Ohio State stop this in-your-face run game that Michigan's going to give them? And that's what I keep looking at. And I continue to be optimistic about it, that we're going to move the ball against that defense.
Yeah, that game's still so far in the distance. If Michigan continues to improve, I mean, that's going to be the big thing, and so you can feel good about heading into that final game. But if Michigan's 11-0, and they'll have a shot to go down there. Cameron Hayward was Craig's.
That was his name. Yeah, I'm sorry, Danny, but Danny, it's so far away, that Ohio State game, but we just got to keep getting better. We got to out-improve them, and we got to keep doing the things that we're going to need to do to beat them, like tackling in space and all these things, and developing this run game that we're going to need to punch that Ohio State defense in the face.
I don't know if it's encouraging not to people, because you go through and there people can be, I mean, if you're not, it's there's one side you can just sit back and say, yeah, I feel really good about everything. There's no issues, and you might feel like that, but other people are like, this is very predictable. Harbaugh needs to open things up. He needs to throw the ball a lot more. But if you look at the first 3 Big Ten games last year, you remember they had to hang on against Rutgers in the second half. The offense was miserable against Rutgers, and they really had to make a play late. When they were up 20-3 at the half against Rutgers. They beat Wisconsin on the road. They were fabulous there. They knocked their quarterback out. But if you remember, the third Big Ten game last year was Nebraska. That was the first game that they had trailed in, and it was back and forth. They gave up 29 points in the second half, and they had to have a big play late in that game by Brad Hawkins to end up winning it just by 3 points. So you take those 3 games, you take these 3 games. Michigan has been in 2 of the games, Maryland and Indiana, a 1-score game of the fourth quarter. You don't want that. You'd like to blow the doors off of these teams and, go into the fourth quarter and not think about it being that tight. But, this is the way they have played. And, when you get through them and you're at that halfway point, I think if we can talk honestly about them, I mean, you'd like to see, a better execution really all throughout, but still they're in good position to have a great year. So that's what you want. I mean, you get back to those bottom lines, and they've got the talent. If you think that's the one part where when I hear people complaining about, they're telegraphing the plays and all these different things. And I get all of that. When I start looking at some of the individual talent, I still think that, wide receiver wise, there's a lot there for them. I really like Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, and I think JJ, he could still play better, even though he had a turnover. I thought that was his best game that he played on defense. There's always little things like, I think DJ Turner is the best cover corner, but how many times in that game did you look over and he wasn't turning his head? Like, I know they talk about that and coach that, but he seems like he needs to really locate that ball a lot better. That could be an issue. But when I'm watching Oki and Harrell and, these guys from Mozzie Smith, Jenkins is good. Like they've got talent, really good talent on defense. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, Danny, I'm really comfortable and confident with the direction of our program, man. We're not maybe blowing people out like some people would like, but again, these are Big Ten football teams. Maryland is no joke. And that was a good win. There's not going to be a huge difference between Maryland and Penn State, too. I'll tell you. So that was a good predictor for us. A really quick comparison: Maryland, Penn State. Maryland has a little better quarterback play, okay, and Penn State will have a little better offensive line and tight end play. But defending both of them, there won't be much of a difference. And in some ways, I'd almost rather defend Penn State's offense than that Leah run offense. But, that was a good team we beat, man. And Maryland's going to beat, again, they struggled, they lost to Purdue. But look, you don't know how your game plan is going to always play out week to week. Players are players, and Michigan's players are going to get ready to go every week. The big thing that I found, Denny, as a guy who played and that coached, is sometimes you don't have a great game plan. And and that has a bigger impact than how well one player plays. You better have your game plan sound and good, and you better be able to find a way to give your players an advantage week in, week out, because you can lose with better players if you don't really know what the heck an opponent is doing defensively or offensively. So I think it's a combination that we have. Our players are good enough. If our coaches don't have great game plans, we can still win. But the coaches, you gotta come every week just like a player with creative stuff on both sides of the ball.
I watched Penn State play last week against Northwestern. It was raining so hard, and so it was really difficult to get any kind of read on the Nittany Lions and what they're going to present to Michigan. Just watching that game, but earlier in the year, when Penn State went down to Auburn and they just destroyed the Tigers on their home field, it was lining up and making big plays in the run game, left and right. I mean, they just had huge chunks. That's what it feels like to me at first thought with coming down to Penn State and Michigan is that Michigan's run defense. If we're talking about let's put one group right up front and put a spotlight on them, and what's it going to come down to? Or people say, hey, what do you think about Michigan, Penn State? First thing I'm thinking about is stopping Penn State's run.
Yeah, this is going to be, again, I talked about it after the game. This is going to be a true, when you line up against Penn State 1st and 10, you got to play run and pass. As a defensive football player, it's not going to be like playing Indiana. And they got the quarterback run plays. They got all the stuff we have that give you problems. So totally different deal. Highly recruited offensive linemen, big, strong dudes, quarterback that's been there for 6 years. I think the receivers are average. They've always had real good receivers. I think slight edge, Michigan at the receiver position. They've got some good tight ends. They got a kid who re-recruited real hard out of Windsor. They've got good tight ends. It looks like Penn State is going a little more like Michigan at times, where they'll have more tight ends in the game, with their spread offense. But I think our offensive line is slightly better than their offensive line. I put the tight end position as a push because we've really only got the one guy going now. Bredesen, in my opinion, has got to get better as a blocker. I think he's kind of a liability right now. He's a receiver. A slight edge at the running back position for Michigan because they got some good running backs. Defensively, Danny, I think our DTs, Mozzie inside, we have a slight edge there. The edge, they got some good edge players. I watched their edge guys, and I call that a push because I think their edge, those are highly recruited kids there. I give their secondary a slight edge. They got really, really good secondary players. They got Porter's kid there, tough tacklers, cover guys, and the quarterback position, I got a slight edge for our guy. I think he runs better. I think he makes more plays with his legs, and he's playing good football. The crowd has got to be a factor. We need the Michigan crowd to be a factor in this game.
Well, they have a maze out planned. And I know when it comes down to the night game, day game, that if you're a Michigan fan and if you could have picked it, you would have rather had this game at night and not the Michigan State game, which looks like is exactly how it's going to play out. So we do know that it's a noon start this Saturday for Penn State, and the Michigan crowd, they can still get behind the team and be a factor, even if it's a noon game. Just got to get ready and maybe get up an hour earlier so you can get the juices flowing a little bit more when you come out there. The Penn State, people like to look at the numbers where they rank nationally and all these different things, and it's still a little bit deceiving and early when you take all the numbers and stuff. After this week, that's when I'm going to start looking at, hey, they do this and do that. Because these teams that Penn State's played, a lot of them, throw the ball. The teams have had success. If you look at the numbers, you can say, oh, man, you can really throw. But like you're talking about, there's some talent back there for Penn State. The odds makers right now, at least this morning, maybe it'll change a little bit this afternoon, 7. It's a solid 7 right now with Michigan as a favorite. I don't know how that makes people feel. How does that make you feel, Scar?
I thought it was high, Danny. I just think that game should be around 4.5 because of what Penn State did at Auburn, the physicality. I mean, they just out-recruited them, physical. They had better players than Auburn. Auburn don't have maybe, that's not Alabama talent, but they have good players. And I thought that line was a little high. But I'll tell you what I'm really looking at. Now, I watched Manny Diaz when he was at Miami. And I saw him defend Michigan State when they went down there. I thought there was a lot of times that the Miami guys were out of position. They didn't look sound. I was not a big Manny Diaz guy watching his defense, schematically, technique. I'm hoping we get the same thing. I was really glad to see Pry leave and go to Virginia Tech. Really happy to see that because I thought he was a heck of a defensive coordinator. So the big thing I'm looking at is Manny Diaz, and how's he going to coach that defense against a good team that this is a whole nother deal for him. This ain't Auburn. Okay. He's getting a Michigan team. I want to watch this guy's technique. I want to see some of the schemes and stunts. He does some totally different things than Prime. And our coaches got to get a handle on him. They got to figure out what he does, when he's doing it, and get an understanding for him. But in my gut, I think we're gonna outcoach them. I think Moore and Weiss, we're gonna outcoach that guy. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I believe. James Franklin on offense, he's a gambler, man. He did the fake punt last. James Franklin is a baller. He's a gambler, offensively and as a head football coach. So, you got to be ready for anything with when you're defending his offense. He's going to run the heck out of his quarterback too against us. He don't care. They're undefeated. They got to beat Michigan. They want to win a championship. So this is the game. This is the game where Michigan's going to run the hell out of JJ, and James Franklin is going to run the hell out of his kid. They both got healthy quarterbacks. We still don't know who our backup is, but they're going to run. You're going to see a lot of quarterback run, I think, from both teams in this game because there's so much on the line, and you can't worry about next week. So I just think, but I got confidence that our offensive guys are going to outcoach Manny Diaz.
Yeah, I feel like Jim Harbaugh, give him the check mark over James Franklin right now. And previous to last year, I had to give, even though Franklin gets into some fourth quarter situations where I've watched him in particular against Ohio State, and he's just gone to some wild play calls that have cost Penn State. I'm sure Nittany Lion fans can recall exactly some of those scenarios. Gets a little loose in the fourth quarter. I've got the advantage coaching-wise for Michigan after what the Wolverines were able to do last year. I thought it was pretty close, but you had to give Franklin the advantage because of what he did against Ohio State prior and Michigan not being able to break through. But now I feel good about where Michigan will be game day. Franklin does a lot of good things. Great recruiter, and he's a great spokesman for the team. He's got everything up and running there. They got a great home field advantage, with their whiteouts and all that. But I think it gets to the fourth quarter. It's a close game. I'm going to give the advantage to Michigan when it comes down to the coaching. All right.
Right. Danny, real quick, couple other thoughts.
All right, go ahead.
This game is a big impact on recruiting. There'll be a lot of recruits at the game. It's Midwest. We recruit against them. We got to win this game from a recruiting standpoint. The off week, people want to talk about the off week. I think it depends on your team. It depends. If I'm a head football coach and my team is undefeated and we've got a lot of momentum like Michigan does, and we've got everybody healthy like Michigan does, I might want to play. I might opt to say, I don't need the week off. I got momentum. I got people healthy. But if I'm a head coach and I got key players banged up, and maybe coming off a lot, whatever, that's maybe when you want the week off. So I think people I think they overplay that in terms of the advantage of a week off type stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out.
No, I hear you on that. Let's get into some plays, and there it is, the scar of the Telestrator. There's the new picture, and Scar, you look really happy there. You got the coaching stance. You look like you're in pretty good shape, but you look like the Cheshire cat there. Like you got something up your sleeve. So feeling pretty good there. You ready to talk about some plays?
Yeah, here we go, Denny. Here's how we start out. This is the second play. Now, the first play, we threw the football. We got two tight ends in the game. Tight end right here. Tight end. This is run. We can run, pass. I love it because it's we can do a lot of things here. And we know Tom Allen wants to defend the running, but we're throwing the football. Just a little short out route here. Ronnie Bell makes a hell of a catch. Keeps it in bounds. But I just want to point it out because it's a formation that we can do anything from, and it gives the defense problems. So just wanted to point that out. Now here we're going to run this outside zone here. This kid is our guy's a Heisman Trophy candidate. And I just want to take a look. This play is not blocked well at all. It's not blocked well at all. And how does Tom Allen know? This is the stuff. I mean, this guy he just was in our playbook. He's bringing this guy. How does he know? He's right into it. They got all kinds of defense here. But we just find
because Huntingford's in there that they know it's going to be a run like that.
Yeah, that's what there's a lot of things that this guy sees, and how does he know it? But our core, this thing is not blocked. They overplay it. They overrun it. It's just Corum. And then we do a great job here. Anthony, smart kid. He doesn't clip them. Just get in the way. Don't clip them. There you go, Anthony. Great job, Corum. I mean, the play was not blocked well. Tom Allen had the play defended, and I just wanted to point that one out.
That looked like a touchdown, to be honest. I didn't see I know they took it in the next play. It really didn't matter, but I didn't see the shot down the goal line, but just watching it again there, like, I don't even know how you make a case for him being short of the goal line, but that's just here or there.
All right, here we go. Their first drive. We are not lined up right. We are confused. They got a guy here. We got nobody on him. So sometimes, Denny, when the opponent is confused, it gives you problems. It creates problems for you because they're not lined up. We don't know is this part of the scheme that they got all these 6 guys over here. The offensive protection doesn't know it. We eventually get lined up and we bring a 5-man pressure and they don't block our inside linebacker. You know, we get good edge. Our edge guys are getting better coming off the edge and they don't block Barrett. He's unblocked. And as an edge player, you know, I played that position as an edge player. Whenever you have a inside pressure, linebacker pressure, you got to know that quarterback can flush. So you better be outside, ready to contain whenever you have inside pressure. And we got contained. We got 3 dudes on them, and that's a great sack. Let's celebrate together. Good job, defensive scheme. Good job, Barrett. This is the kind of stuff, Denny, that I'm when I talk about, you know, getting ready for Ohio State. These are the things that we have to do. You know, we got to, in this defense here now, we're asking this guy to jam this guy a little bit, and then we're playing the zone. He's got to get into this flat over here. But, you know, it's just not good enough. We get a little jam, and it just takes too long to come off the block, and they pick up 10 yards. We can't give people 10 yards. We can't give Ohio State 10 yards on a play like that. And that's just all I'm saying is everything we're doing now, again, we got to get ready for that football game.
And if Indiana was good at one thing, this was it right here. It was snap, set, throw, short. That was good. And this is in the first half. They were really good in the first half at it.
Oh, yeah, because he can't run the ball, Danny. So this would come out with empty. But you know what's great about this? All this stuff is getting us ready for the Buckeyes. That's what it's doing. That's why it's helping us. This game helped us from that standpoint because we're seeing it. We're seeing a Big Ten team, and we got to tackle in space. We got to run the techniques and be better at the techniques. Now, this kid will be better at Ohio State, you know, to tackle him in space. But all that –
he's supposed to get on the inside of him there? Is that the thing when he's running that route?
Well, he's just got to react, Danny. He's just got to react quicker. He's just got to, you know – they're going to ask him to jam. They're putting the kid in a tough position. They want him to jam that receiver. Okay,
you got to jam him within 5 yards, though, right? Look at
he's got to jam. They want him to jam him, but then also, you know, be in a position to make that play here, not here. You know, we don't want to make it here for 9 yards. So it's, you know, he'll get better at it. Maybe move him up. I would maybe move him up in his alignment, but we can't give people 10 yards on that kind of a play. So that's, you know, they'll coach it up. They'll get better at it. That's why I'm glad this game has a lot of benefits. Now, this was a play that's a touchdown, and it's really tough on the linebacker. This is tough on the linebacker because, Denny, he's responsible for this gap right here. Okay, if they run the football in there, he's got to defend that gap. This linebacker right here. Okay. And this is Barrett. And now he's got to cover this back, swinging out of the backfield. So he's got to, you know, this is one of them times you got to read the stance of the back, the split. Is he any wider than normal? What's the down and distance? You know, it's 2nd and 10. You just got to be thinking. If you got this guy and you got all this field out here, maybe widen a step or two, or maybe overplay him a little more. But this is a tough ask on your linebacker, and it's partly scheme, and he's just got to understand down and distance. But that's a tough deal there, man. To ask him to cover that, you know, I know sometimes the guy in the box doing the game wants to yell at the kid, blame the kid, and I just think it's really tough for him to cover that. So
Yeah, well executed offense is always they have the advantage over the defense. They know where
Yeah, I mean, you got to give them credit. You
Yeah.
got to, but look, you got to look at the little things. Is he wider than normal? I don't know, but edge. I'm gonna tell you something we used to do back in my day and I did this as a coach also. If you're gonna ask this kind of stuff, I played this position, and if he takes an outside release, I would take him. If he takes an inside release, the linebacker would take him, and then the linebacker would come and contain the quarterback. That's something we did as a changeup to help defend this play but again, if you got 260-pound edge players, that's why it's harder for them to cover these little running backs. You know what I mean? That's just something we did as a changeup. But here we go. Let's look at it. And it's tough. It's a long way to go. And sometimes, the scheme, no defense is perfect. And that one puts a lot on the kid. Here we go. Again, throwing 2nd and 1. This is 2nd and 1. I like this because, again, people want to beat up our coaches for being predictable. I mean, here's 2nd and 1. We got 2 tight ends in the game. It's a they're thinking run, and we throw the football. So this kind of stuff is good. Pick up a big chunk here because he's over. Coach Tom Allen is overplaying run at the top. He's overplaying the run up here. Doesn't have a lot of defense down here. JJ has this guy. Ronnie Bell, nice catch, big pickup. Take advantage of the down and distance. That is not a conservative coaches there.
No, they get the field goal attempt on this particular series, and if you look back on it, there were people saying, "Well, Michigan runs too much on first down." I went through this morning and charted it out. They had 16 first down plays in the first half, and they ran on 9 of them. So, I mean, the 9-7 split is not running every time on first down.
Yeah.
It's not a bad split, actually, if you just come up with that. But, it's not getting those third downs and not being able to drive the ball downfield. And, if you're just looking at 10 points, people think you should be able to, score 20 points. But if they bang one of these touchdowns late, the one where they missed a field goal, they get in there, they had Bell in the end zone. They had Henning in the end zone. If they're able to, connect on that and you're at 17 points, you're not as, talking about them being as vanilla or as flat. And I don't know if they're vanilla because they don't feel like the receivers are getting open downfield, or they feel like, whatever needs to click in that passing game. That's the thing I don't know. But go ahead, Scar.
Here, I just want to point out, how our coaches, how much we work on nonverbal communication, because you're loud. It's loud here. Sometimes you need more of this stuff at home because our crowd is loud at home when the offense has the ball. But our guys are communicating, and I like seeing this. We know we have hand signals. We're communicating nonverbally, and I just like seeing it. And all this stuff matters. So here's Harold going to make a great play here. Here he is lined up here. Let's take a look. It's a play action pass, beats the guy inside, makes a play. And I just want to point this out. Get up, find a teammate, get some love. Mozzie's right here. He wants to give you some love. Give him some love. We don't need it. We talked about it. We don't want to keep beating it up.
Nope.
It is what it is. Let's go to the next play.
TikTok, wipe your face.
Yeah, that's right. Let's look at the next play. This is another play that is really asking it's tough for the linebacker. Okay, now here we go. Not sure of the down and distance, but we're asking Junior here. They got a lot of people here, so they got a run threat. They got run threats over here, but this is an imposter. This is a receiver. This is not a tight end. These are little things you got to look at. Okay, so they're going to ask Junior to cover and defend a gap over here, but he's also got to run with this guy on this crossing pattern. So this is really tough. And they kept beating us with this level passing game down here. They hit us a couple times with it.
2nd and 8.
2nd and 8. So Junior's got to play run. See, he's got to honor the mesh point, Danny. The ball is in the gut of a running back. He cannot start looking this guy up until he clears run. So Junior's eyes are on that mesh point right here. Okay, so once he clears that, now he has to try to find this guy. And just that little split second, it gives that receiver that advantage and that separation there. So again, people want to beat up our linebackers, and it's tough. It's a tough. It's a good offensive scheme, and it's tough to ask a kid to do that.
It's tough to ask a linebacker to cover a wide receiver to begin with. But
well, it's but maybe if anything, Junior could have maybe recognized that's an imposter in the game. He's not a tight end, so they're not bringing him in there to block. And those are little things that maybe you might want to loosen up, soften up against your the run threat. Again, this is stuff, Denny, that I'm liking because I want to get ready for the Buckeyes. We got to tackle in space. This is what we need. Okay, 3-4 yard gains. And I think this is Rod Moore, right?
Good player.
Now see how he plays it. He's trying to jam. See, they might yell at him at the jam, right? The same kind of scheme we looked at earlier, technique. We want to jam, and then let's make the play for a 3-4 yard gain. That's how we can beat the Buckeyes. Okay, and here's their play where they throw the ball, and this would have been a touchdown if that tight end would have just been on this side of the line of scrimmage. But it's a game of inches, Danny. It's a game of inches.
Game of inches. All right.
And the guy just crosses the line of scrimmage. So you're allowed to block. Okay, you're allowed to block as long as the receiver catches the ball on this side of the line of scrimmage. Okay, and but he just crosses it. He's just over the line of scrimmage, and we get a little break there. That's on the tight end, but still we got to do a better job of coming off this. Because if this play is executed properly, this guy has to come off it. He's got to come off this thing and recognize it, and he's not. I mean, we get lucky there, but the way we're going to coach that is he's got to feel it and come off on the tight end.
Yeah, Turner got sucked in, so they'll practice that all week. But Penn State will look at that and.
Oh yeah, people run that. We run that play, and people are gonna run it.
Right.
This is a third and goal. It's a passing situation, but they want to maybe run the ball, help their field goal kicker out. And I just like this play because he's, Mozzie's responsible for this gap, and this is the stuff he's able to do: play his gap, throw a guy away, and make a play on the inside. That's just hard to do. That's a Big Ten, all Big Ten type of play.
Yeah,
I just like it because if it could have been a run in there, they could have made the. They end up kicking the field goal anyway, but it's a good play. I wanted to point it out because we don't always get to call his name out. This is stuff we had trouble. We got to attack the line of scrimmage. We got to punch, use our hands, and come off the block. This is Sanistro. He's got to read this thing. Okay, he has got to read this. As soon as he sees that quarterback's arm movement, he has got to attack. And he's got to punch this guy and meet him here as close to the line. That's how we coach that, Denny, to meet him at the line of scrimmage. We don't want to play football here. We got to meet him here. And we got to punch and then come off the block and make the play go back inside. And we just don't do a great job here. He's got to turn that play inside. He's got all his buddies inside. He's got 6 Wolverines that are chasing this thing. These guys are all coming. You got to turn it in. Maybe we can make that play here. So he's just got to punch, come off the block, and we got to be better. That's not going to beat the Buckeyes.
No, that's not leveraging the ball.
No. Okay, here we go. Good things happen when JJ gets outside the pocket. And let's take a look at this. This is 1st and 10. And they got it bottled up. And look, they're going to have a big 300-pounder contain this defense. Coach Allen, I don't know, man. And JJ just gets out easily. And this was a kind of a high, I don't know how much of a window he had here because you got to throw it. And it's really a great throw and a great catch because it's a small window. Ronnie Bell makes a great play, stays in bounds. And then and then they do something dumb on their sideline. These refs were unbelievable, man.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a ticky-tack call. I didn't like that one, but what the heck? Michigan maybe had a couple on them. JJ can really, when he moves to the right, he's got good accuracy, poise. He just looks confident when he rolls to the right.
Yeah, but at the same time, Denny, if I'm coaching against Michigan, man, if I'm a defensive end edge player, I know he wants I'm going to be out here against JJ. I got to be out here. I mean, I know he wants to contain to his right. Just like defending Michael Vick, everybody knew he always wanted to go to his left. But anyway, they don't get it done. JJ makes them pay, and that's a great job.
Yeah. Got a sideline warning there, too, from Michigan. So
yeah, this is their biggest run, and this is on our defensive tackle here. And it's really, we got 5 guys in here. And you got to maintain your gap. You got to maintain. He's called a 4-eye. He's playing into this tackle, but he's got inside control. He's got to play the B gap. He's between the guard. He's got to maintain his gap.
When you say 4 eyes, is this a 3 technique, or is he got to play?
It's very similar, Denny. A 3 technique plays into the guard, but is responsible for the B gap. A 4 technique is placed into the tackle, but is also responsible for the B gap. So they're both responsible for the gap. But they're playing into a different player. Okay, it's just a little different technique, but you still got to maintain your gap responsibility. And he lets this tackle get inside of him. So this is it's tough on him to play this technique, but he's got to find a way to continue to fight and maintain his gap, because the linebacker is going to believe that you're in your gap, so he's going to be working out here to his gap. And now it comes back into the gap because the tackle is supposed to be responsible for. So again, sometimes I hear the analysts blame a linebacker, and this is not on the linebacker. The linebacker's trying to get to his gap. We got to tackle him. But this was probably their best run play, and it's all about one guy losing gap integrity.
Squirted through there pretty good.
I thought this was a great play. Ronnie Bell has been playing great. I guess captain won't be denied. It's a pass that could have been picked off, and our captain comes down with it. He rips it away from their guy.
Yeah.
I just like seeing that stuff. That sends a message. Them young receivers see that. Good job, Ronnie Bell, not being denied. Now, here's this short yardage play that when this happened at Wisconsin last year, it happens too many times. I don't know why, I'm not blaming the player, and I think the analysts were blaming the player because they told him where to line up. Our coaches tell him and coach him on the width here. They tell him how wide they want him to line up. I mean, if you're going to run this play,
he should be a little closer.
Well, if I'm running this play, I'm putting a big 290-pound tight end right here. I'm not even going to play around.
Because, but you're telegraphing it then, Scar. That's what they'll say.
Okay, well, great. You know what? I'm going to block this edge. They know I'm running the football in here anyway.
All right.
You do one of 2 things. Bring the big tight end in there, like I say, or cheat him in here, and let's quit trying to fool him that, they're going to throw the football here. But he's got a long way to go to cut him off, and it's just it's too far to go. He doesn't take a great angle. Ronnie Bell should probably step down in here. He should step more laterally and get his head across. But at the same time, that's on coaches too. I don't know. I put a big freaking fat tight end in there. Linebackers got to find their gap, Danny. This is their second good run they have on us. This time we're not really in our gap. This linebacker here, is this junior down here? Who is this? This is he's got to get to that gap. They're blocking what I used to call full block. People have different names for it.
I think that's Barrett.
Okay, so this guy, he's coming down, and he's going to come over in through here. So he's got to meet this guard right up in the gap. Or the center. That's the center. Yeah, the guard's blocking down on our 3 technique, and the center's going to try to get in on our backer. He's got to meet this center in the gap. Okay? He's got to meet this center who's pulling. He's got to meet him here at the line of scrimmage. This guy's got to punch and try to help and fall off and make a play. The tackle's got to punch on this guard and squeeze this thing. So the edge player and the guard in the 3 technique are both squeezing this gap to try to make this island that this linebacker is on smaller. They got to help this linebacker out, and we're really not getting it done. The linebacker's got to meet him here. That's just bad by 3 guys. None of them are good enough. The linebacker especially. You understand that, Denny?
I do. That was 23, which is Barrett.
Yeah. Here's the start of a great drive. Here we go, the 3rd and 8. We were worried about this, right? Because we dropped the pass on 2nd down or 1st down. Remember that one?
Yeah, that's right. This is the start of the 98, 99-yard drive, right?
Yeah, this is it. And we find the captain coming across. Now, everybody used to beat up Michigan with these crossing patterns. They're playing zone. And we find out, their weaknesses in zone. And we wait for them to clear, and we make it happen, man. And this got it going. This got the drive going. A good protection. The protection was awesome all day long, man. I just like this play because it's here we go, 1st and 10. It's part of that same drive, and we're moving guys, we're throwing it, we're running it, we've got crossing patterns, and now here we just Corum making guys miss, and he's dragging dudes. He makes this guy miss, and now he's got people. He's dragging them for the 1st down. They're trying to rip the ball out of there, and again, I said it how much I love his ability and everything he does, but man, he just secures the football. He don't put me on the field in sudden change, Danny. Defensive players don't want to go on the field because you turn the ball over. So that's a great job by our line. Great job by Corum.
25 for 124 and a touchdown on the day for number 2.
Here we go. Great job, line, picking up stunt. Our offensive pass protection has been pretty darn good. Couple guys got beat, at times this year, but there's still a gap that's not manned. Now they're bringing 5 guys. They bring them from all different angles, and we pick up the protection. Look how beautiful we pick up this protection. We pick them up. The back picks them up, and now JJ finds the seam. This is as good as everybody wants to say JJ is on this play. The offensive protection is just as good. The running back picks up his guy. And that is a lot of people doing a great job there. And then he just outruns this linebacker. But great protection there. Good job. Again, this is a scheme where, I don't understand this front. He's got this guy, this big defensive tackle. He's responsible for containing. Sometimes I question what the opponents are doing defensively, against this kid that can run. And now we get him outside the defense. Remember, Danny, anytime you watch Michigan and JJ gets outside the defense, good things happen. So here's the crossing pattern with Kojo down here. He's gonna catch this one, and they're in man coverage. And we all know about crossing patterns and man coverage from the Down Brown days, right?
That's right. Nice run there by Kojo.
Almost done, Danny. Couple more. I really like this. Again, I'm looking at this is Johnson. I just like the drive on the ball. Again, this is great drive on the ball equals punt. Again, this is the young freshman. Look at the drive on the football, because that's a 1st down right here. But he makes it for a hardly couple yard gain. Look at the drive. You can't coach athletic ability like that. Gets them out of bounds, punt the football. That's the stuff we got to have against the Buckeyes. This is another little stunt here. We got him 3rd and 10. So now Minter can get in his playbook, his bag of tricks. Who's coming. We get Oki ends up getting free here. He gets blocked. He just overruns this guard here. But we're getting good pressure here. And again, we got 5 guys here, and they really don't know who's coming. Some of this stuff just creates doubt. It creates doubt that can affect the offensive lineman's stance. Who's he going to overplay? Who's he going to underplay? And we get this guard on his heel, and Oki just runs him right over.
Nice.
But a lot of this stuff, the doubt of and the chaos and the confusion, it can create some of those things. Love this play. We must have known that this guy was coming, because this play could have been a dead play if he's not rushing. But maybe they knew it. Maybe our coaches knew it by formation, by what they've done earlier to us in the game. I love this play. It's hard to defend. It's easy to execute because it's just it's a little flare pass, and it's legal. These guys are blocking downfield, but we catch the ball on this side of the line of scrimmage with our tight end. So let's take a look. We're blocking down here. We can block them downfield because the ball's thrown on our side. Our tight end is smart. He's not crossing the line of scrimmage.
That's right.
All those little things, Denny. Great job. One last play here.
All right.
And we are done. Let's take a look. All right, this is a true freshman. This kid keeps getting better every week. This is Derek Moore, and this is Harrell up here.
Harrell, yep.
And we get good edge pressure. We got him 3rd and 10, and I like the improvement here, and I like what I'm seeing from this guy here after what we saw earlier. You get pressure, both of them, both edge players. There we go. Now here we go, Denny. This is what I want to see right there, baby. This is more meaningful. It's funner. Look, here's the young freshman. Here's Mozzie. Here's Big Graham. Let's give each other a hug. That's more fun. That's how we celebrate right there. Okay, that's what we want to see. I want to look at it again, because this is what we don't want to put it in the hands of some old dude to make calls. But I love it. Great job. Great job there by the that kid keeps getting better. He's going to be an outstanding edge player, Derek Moore.
It didn't look like a freshman to reach out there. Looked like he just grabbed him with his right hand and was able to tear him down. That's some pretty good strength. They just overpowered the tackle too, which also is.
I stood next to him at practice. I'm 6'5", and he's a big, tall, thick kid. Just a athletic kid. You don't look like no 18-year-old kid.
No, he looks like he's ready to. He looks like a pro defensive end right now. Yeah, he has. It's the first time I saw him at that All-Star game. I think it was even before he committed or right after he committed. I mean, guy's a man child. Yeah,
he's getting coached up. He's getting better.
I like it. Scar, great job today. We look forward to you got a pick for us. I know it's early in the week. I don't know if you've looked at the menu already or you want to call it in.
Duke let us down. The coach had a dumb penalty at the end in overtime, 15-yard penalty, just terribly stupid. It happens. But I like Navy getting 13 at SMU. Navy's played them close. I think that game, 13 points a little too much. Take Navy getting 13 at SMU. I like that.
Navy sounds great. Anything else that you want to say here?
No, we're fired up. Michigan's ready. We're positive. We're a motivated bunch. We're healthy. We are going to be. Our home crowd is going to make the difference. We're going to make plays, and we're going to be undefeated going into the break.
All right, great job, Scar. We will talk with you again after Penn State. See you then.
Go Blue.